Yeah. Yeah, now you can come up.
Not that anybody's tempted, I'm such an interesting teacher, nobody's ever tempted to off. But
thank you. Oh, you're good.
Uh-huh.
I just need a little bit of space.
Sure.
Okay. All right, 7 game dev tips. So this is a collection of things either that I've picked up on over the last 10 years of teaching, being responsible for students, mostly folks straight out of high school that are, jumping into these programs and they're like, I want to make games. What do I do? I've had to fight uphill battles a bit. You remember ITT? Yeah, I used to work there. I ran well before they crashed, they tanked. But I kind of fought against them a lot. They had a lot of I can tell you stories. So if you want to know a little bit about ITT, we can talk for quite a while about that after. But I had to go against the grain and really kind of fight for what I at least thought the students needed, and a lot of that boils down to some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. Most of it, though, it's not like, oh wow, Mars learned this stuff. No, this is me learning from people that I went to school with or that taught me. These are some of you even that I know that I've talked with before. This is these are a series of lessons from some of the other communities in the network around Michigan who've been doing games for years, that have been in film and games, and outside of games, and are back in games now. This is the kind of stuff that they talk about when we get together and we have drinks, and we're talking about the projects and we're complaining about things and doing the usual drinking. So number one, make, network, and learn. This is universal. It doesn't matter whether you're a student or you're a teacher or you're trying to get back into games or you're in film, or it doesn't matter. You got to make. You got to keep making. And this involves doing it for a living, hopefully, but then also doing it outside of work. If you're not doing stuff outside of work, if you're not doing stuff outside of school, whatever your core thing is, you got to be doing this stuff outside of it as much as you can. That's probably going to break your bank, it's going to break your mind, break your heart, but the more you do it, the better. Because the more that you have to show, the more that you have to talk about, and things like this, the better. That's how opportunities arise. They go, wow, okay, you have these skills. Well, we could use those. Really important for a student, right? But as a veteran, it's kind of the opposite. You're the one actually helping. But we'll get to that in a minute. And then learning. So this is just a general maybe ethos, like a make, network, learn. Remember that, everybody. So discipline is something that we all struggle with. And what I mean by this is you got a new job, you just started school, you're going back in the fall or whatever, and you got to find your schedule, right? What is going to work that will kind of facilitate some of the goals that you have, right? So as a student that's finishing up your classwork, for a vet, it's, now I moved to Michigan and I'm working at this studio, it's a startup. You got to deal with all of the issues related with the startup and kind of finding your own way and battling with the marketing and business side of things. If you're small, and you got to find your work ethic, whatever it's going to take. You got to figure out your schedule, whether you've got, I've got a 3-year-old son, right? I've got a wife, I've got a house. I have all of these other responsibilities outside of the game-related stuff. I've got to find a balance, and a lot of that involves the help of my friends and family. I could not do that without any of them, right? So you find that, you find your groove. You'll always be looking, spoilers. You're always going to be working, trying to find this perfect spot that you fit, within your life, all of this work that you're trying to do. Does that make sense? Okay. I was a little worried about that. That was my first PowerPoint presentation animation.
So you fix the master right there.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. I was worried about that joke too.
He's my hero.
Tricky did, right? I was talking with my wife, and I'm like, "Do you think people like get that? Like maybe, like right? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm just." Anyway. So this is pretty straightforward, and this goes for newbies and old folks alike, right? Everybody loves those stories where people got blacklisted, right? Oh yeah, you hear this person. Oh man, working with them, it's awful. Yeah, like they lost their shit. Like this is interesting to people, and they talk about it. It may seem inconsequential, but yeah.
I was gonna say Fez.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah,
A little bit of
yeah. I stick up for Phil Fish.
yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
What's the number for desks?
Yeah, yeah. Nash is the same way, and like
Yeah.
all these other Twitter personalities and stuff are always. I don't know. That's another point that I wanted to bring up too, mostly about ego. But I mean, almost any thought we have can be broadcasted and become permanent and reach however many people. So, maybe that has something to do with this too. I mean, there are a lot of people I've come across or that I've worked with that nobody wants to work with them, and it just boils down to this: they're just doesn't matter what kind of skills they have, and normally those people also they're not actually doing the job they're supposed to be doing, but it impacts everything, right? The culture in a studio, the friendships that people have. I mean, people want to hire their friends, right? If I'm hiring, I want to hire somebody that I know. Preferably they know how to do the job, but if they're a jerk, if they're not friendly, if they're difficult to be around, goodbye. It doesn't matter how hard of a day you're having. You can't take it out on people, especially coworkers. That was the second animation I've done. We're all students, always. I'm taking classes at MSU. I'm taking a game writing class over the summer, and I'm very fortunate to be working with or alongside some of the people in this class. It's cool. I'm just meeting new people, and they're doing really cool things. There's somebody from the DNR that's generating an entire script for a game and talking about all these really cool locations and this like folklore around Michigan, like rabid squirrels and stuff, like all this really interesting stuff. I'll share as much as I can of that once it's all finished. But we're always students. We're always learning. If you're a student, obviously, but as a vet, you should be doing the same thing. You've been in the industry for a couple of years, 10 years, 20 years, doesn't matter. A lot of the people, the older folks that I know, the people who've been doing this for a while, even some of the students that I've had who, they just started a BFA or Bachelor's of Science or something, and they're in their 30s or they're in their 40s, they have a family, they've already done the full-time gig, and now they're coming back to school. It's because of this. They realize, okay, I'm not finding work that I want. It's because I wasn't, adapting, or I wasn't learning, or I've got a change of scenery, right? I want to make. We are always students. You're always learning. That'll help facilitate number one. It's all about making. Right? So you guys are pretty good with this here. I like that. That's good. But this also impacts you're in the classroom, you're out of the classroom, you're at work. It isn't easy sharing your ideas, especially if you don't really, you're like, I'll pass on that. But should you? I don't know. You might be in the wrong place if you can't share an idea like that. And I understand. It's always, there's more to it. And if I do that, maybe I'll lose my job, or maybe I'll, look like an idiot or something like that. But you got to take those risks. One of the best things you have is just your own contribution to the conversation.
And maybe that's somebody you know, maybe it's an idea you had, but you just being here is like, is the right term, propagating? It's building up this network around Michigan, right? You're here, right? People from a lot of different fields, you know, GM and Ford, right? We've got people from schools, we've got people doing Android development, and, you know, teaching here and all of that. There's a lot that we can learn from one another. And we're not going to learn anything if we don't meet, we don't talk, and we don't share our stories and engage in these conversations. So, number 6, don't be a hater. You know Patton Oswalt? Yeah, he's the voice of Ratatouille, lead character. Awesome, awesome guy, very fun. He has a joke about, you know, when you're getting older, when you stop hating music. I think that rings true. If you're interested in games, you probably play them, right? Probably don't like some of the games that have come out in the last 20 years. Right? It's a game you hate. Anybody? You just can't stand it. You don't like it. StarCraft 2?
Did everyone say that? Sonic 06.
Sonic 06? Okay.
Dota.
Dota? Yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot of hate that goes around within game culture, and this is mostly, you know, the culture of playing games, not necessarily the culture of making games. But I think that bleeds in, right? We see a lot of devs who going, "Oh man, that game's crap. That's nothing, right? We're going to make a game that's better." And more often than not, that kind of makes you look like a fool. Makes you look like you don't know what you're talking about. If you completely discredit something that is out there and successful, whether you like it or not, you can have your opinion. You know, you can still hate StarCraft or you can hate, you know, whatever, but that's just not for you. The fact of the matter is that it makes, you know, all of this money and gets all of this notoriety, and people are very familiar with it. And people wait a long time and are very hyped up about these different things, even if it's Sonic. Sonic is probably a really good example. Right? It's notorious. It's a meme. It's so bad, right? You know, but there's something to that. That's the novelty of it now. And that's almost something that should be studied, like on an academic, like, you know, fully funded, you know, research level. Like something like that should be explored because there's something to be gained from it. And that's the whole point that I'm trying to make. Is, you know, you don't want to be a hater. Have your opinion, but you know, especially when you're trying to pitch a project or you're working on a project and you're trying to represent it, like, don't be the fool who's up there like, "Oh man, StarCraft, you know, the game that I'm making with 3 people in 6 months' time is going to be so much better." Like, that's a little bit of an extreme case, but I think you got that before.
It's every day I read this, I was like, how do we make the next League of Legends? Guys, $0.
Yeah.
My favorite is we're the Uber of this.
You know,
That's my favorite thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What was that?
They got all those MMOs and say they're going to kill WoW.
Yeah, it was a big thing for a while. Yeah, which turned out well. Yeah. So a lot of these kind of sound like I'm a life coach or something. I mean, this could apply to almost any field, really. But it's something that's just, all of these things are so universal. We understand that we can apply them, you know, to the culture of making games, the culture of playing them, and everything that inspires you. But yeah, the last one is just, it isn't about you. And this involves project management, it involves communication, it involves all the making and learning and all of that. You're going to go through a lot of ups and downs, and you got to remember to check the ego, because that's the killer, like the number one thing that will kill you. Your profession, your trade, whatever, it can lead to pretty bad things. You can end up like Nixon, good old Nixon, bouncing away. I brought in, is anybody familiar with Pluto? Hello, Pluto in Birmingham. So they do like graphic design, web design, motion graphics, all sorts of stuff. They had a studio on the corner. It's on like 4th Street. It was in a warehouse. We were talking about weird places in Detroit. You wouldn't expect them to be there, but they're kind of popular. they're in this storage warehouse for plays. So you go into this warehouse and it's nothing but giant giraffes and other stage, props. Like weird, creepy, wheelchair-bound, clown mannequin things, really strange. And then you walk through a giant oak door and you're in this, beautifully renovated space where, 5 people sit there 9 to 5 every single day, not really 9 to 5, but doing 3 graphics visualization for, I think they worked for GM, they did a bunch of different things. People from EA, people with architecture backgrounds, a couple of students of mine, 2 students have gone through the studio. So I invited the people that I knew there to the classroom back when I worked at ITT. And this was a class of like 27 people. I failed more than half of them through this experience. So studio in the classroom, beginning, middle, and end. The studio came in and just checked on this project they were working on for 11 weeks. Right? 11 weeks, what do you want to do? Right? You want to focus on something, you learned all of this stuff, now you have an opportunity to actually apply that. So let's put you through the ringer. I'm going to give you feedback and work with everybody one-on-one and so on. There was one student who totally impressed me. And it was just, man, he was locked in. Like he would have walked right into that job, internship, the whole thing, he would have been set. He probably still would have been there. He was working on a ZBrush sculpt, right? Brush model. So he had done that before, but he's trying to create this really cool elemental character and stuff. He had this, really good pitch about it. Pluto's like, yeah. Midterm rolls around, that presentation comes by, Pluto's ready. They're like, all right, what is this guy doing? He lost it. He lost it. His flash drive broke, right? All the information that he had gone, right? After how many times, we go through this, you gotta back it up, save your stuff, make backups, right? He loses it. He was blacklisted immediately. Pluto looked at that and we were like, no, don't even finish presenting, don't even, just don't explain, because he made it all about this. He's like, no, it wasn't me, right? It wasn't my fault. He didn't own up to it. He didn't take the responsibilities for it, and they knew right then. That says a lot of bad things. One, what kind of friend is that guy? Would we want to work with that guy? But 2, what kind of professional is that guy? If he's just making up excuses, 5-6 weeks into a project and he doesn't have anything to show, that's an issue. But if he just came in there and he said, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you, here's what happened, I'm going to make it right, I know that it's unacceptable. They would have looked at that and, okay, things are a little bit different now, but we'll work with you. We get that because you're human, right? When the ego comes into play, it tends to muddle things, and you just got to remember, you can take a step back and you can say, okay, you know what, I'm going to let somebody else handle this on a project, or I can let somebody else try that. You can trust in other people to take care of some of this stuff. It's a very difficult thing to do sometimes, especially when you're like, it's going to be the best thing, it's going to be a great idea, this is the way to go. But no matter how many times you try to justify it, sometimes the best course of action is to just step aside. So that's it. That's all. Yeah. So are we doing the next one, or are we doing like QA, or
Yeah.
any comments or stories? That would probably be more interesting, like stories of this kind of stuff going on. Yeah.
So you mentioned that this is kind of a, as I say, not as I
Yeah.
What are some of the times where you've had to learn these lessons and
So like communicate and be present. So I went to International Academy of Design and Technology, and it was unaccredited. Like right now I'm going through some issues with the Higher Learning Commission. They don't even see it as a degree, which is really interesting. But I met a lot of really good people, some people that I still talk with, or they're still involved in stuff. So there was a conference that they did every year, and they only did it a couple of times. So this conference,
Chris Avalon of Obsidian, formerly. Now he's not there anymore. Now he's doing something else. But Black Isle, right? Fallout. He worked on Fallout New Vegas, Alpha Protocol, the original Fallout games. Like he was the writer for that. He was like the game designer for it. He was there. And at the time, I was doing modding for Fallout. They were hiring for New Vegas. Like if I went up to him and talked to him, if I engaged and told him what I was doing, that could have led to something interesting, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you know, who knows in hindsight? But that's definitely one example, personally. I mean, there were times where, even just with this one, like you get feedback. So I've gone to Atlanta and Ohio. I've gone to Jersey and showed off that Axis game that I'm working on. And you know, people walk up to you and they play the game, and then they give you what's for it, right? Here's all the information. Here's my feedback, right? They're not necessarily, more often than not, I mean, nobody's ever just said, yeah, I don't like it. You know, they've always been very, very kind, very, you know, polite. But sometimes people will say things, and you're just kind of like, no, you know, you'll look at them, no, that would never, you know, and then at that point you got to go, okay, like you just have to kind of take it for what it is. You think about it later. That's always an ongoing struggle, I think, showing off stuff. A lot of the stuff that we show is incomplete if it's just a side project or something anyway. There's always that thing of like, oh, you're not going to get it, right? Like you're not going to, oh yeah, like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, right? But saying that kind of comes off a certain way, and you have to be very careful about that, I think. What about you guys? Do you guys have any stories about, did any of this resonate where you're like, ah, yeah, I know somebody, or yeah, I did that, you know, or maybe I should do this?
Networking for sure was a big thing that I was trying to learn everything myself, which was just too much. But as soon as I started talking to other people, and like meeting stuff, and like going on TikSource, which is like for internet developers, and just like participating in the forum and answering other people's questions, you learn like an exponential factor more than you would by yourself. So I think just having that more and like earlier on would help me learn a lot easier with stuff.
I think that's super interesting because actually it was like 2-week period where I was interviewing a lot, trying to find a new job, and they'd always ask me the same question, like, what are you looking for? And my answer was always, I need to be in an environment that's collaborative, number one, but I also need to be in an environment where there's people that are much smarter than me, people that are not at my level, so we can actually kind of learn from each other and grow. Because once you grow that community and that tight-knit relationship with people you're working with, like what you would have got done without that is nowhere near what you accomplished with that. So like that's always something super important to me. It's at least 2 of those.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I had on my notes for this. This is going to turn into 10. And this is going to be presented at GX in Ohio, if anybody's going to that. But you had your hand up too.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned when you're actually creating something is like it takes an ego of some sort to be able to build something to existence, and also just the fact that you have something that you know that deep in your mind or in your heart, or whatever, that this is something that you enjoy, but you're not sure if other people would enjoy it. So my question for you is, you say you've been doing this since 2008, so at what point did you say to yourself, okay, this is something that I feel will actually be, that I can actually, that people actually enjoy, and I actually pursue this? So was there a point where you had to come to this realization that, okay, this is, I'm good to move forward with this, or this is just my back pocket, and I actually see this for myself?
A lot of that, the Axis project, I was sharing with students a lot. So, I mean, they would come in and I'd be working on it, you know, like, all right, let's get class started, and close this stuff out, save it, back it up a couple of places, and save it. And then the feedback that they always gave me was really, really positive and constructive, and positive is like, oh my God, wow, but just really constructive. So try this, do this, and all that. And I was like, yeah. It's like, I mean, they were my students, but in this case, I had tunnel vision, and they were, you know,
they were smarter than me, right? They were able to see all this stuff I couldn't. So then it encouraged me and kind of showed me, okay, yeah, like people would like this. A lot of the decisions I'm making are validated, right? And it's really big with testing and showing this stuff off. It's like, you know, it isn't about me. Yeah, I've got that ego, and I think this is going to be really great. But it doesn't mean squat until I get it in front of somebody and it resonates, and you know they get it. I mean, I had like really like tutorials at the beginning of the game where I'm holding your hand and you know hit this button to do this, and I threw all of it out after people were like, yeah, no, you know, yeah, that's right, but that is kind of bad. Like you don't need that. It's you know, and I see that, and I kind of beat myself up over it. You know, it's usually just sharing that. That's why I post on the Slack channel so much, and why I'm posting stuff on the Discord. So if you see all my gifts, I apologize. Maybe turn off your notifications. That would probably be really good. But I'm looking for that conversation. I've had maybe 3 that I can like remember almost to a T how it went and how influential it was. And one of them was just, maybe you should have dodging in the game. And I'm sitting there and we're about to start class and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't want to teach this class right now. Like, this is I need to make this happen. Yeah. Inspiration is everywhere. Mostly it's about that conversation.
Yeah, it's funny, you're talking about like manager ego and everything. For me, it's the opposite, where I've got like, it's like, oh, no one's gonna care about this, no one's gonna be interested in this. Like, it took me a long time to get to the point where I was showing anybody any of my work, and then I was like, oh, people actually cram into this.
Yes.
They don't know what to talk about. They just have, it's because they haven't seen the whole game. Like,
Yeah.
you know, as soon as they play the real thing, they'll be like, upset, you know. And I kind of force myself, like, to show it to people, talk to people about it, because if you just hide it away, you're never going to get that validation, you're never going to get that feedback.
Yeah, and so much of it, like the projects that you're working on are pretty personal. You know, like you're trying to communicate something or do something or explore something, right? Especially with your film background. You know, so when you're working on this stuff, you're like, oh, like you know what's good. You know what's good. You know, and you're like, nah, no, I'll pass, right? It's an uphill battle for sure. That's never going to change.
Oh, yeah, no.
So yeah, I'll bother you now. I'm going to be like, hey, how's it going? How's that project going? You post anything? Yeah. Yeah, what's up?
About communicating and telling people about your ideas and things like that. Like when you know, like I've been in situations where people are like, oh, tell me about your project, and I'm like hesitate to tell them because like I want to give all my good ideas and like this. So like, what do you recommend?
So
Do that elevator pitch now.
yeah, oh yeah, the elevator pitch is something. Man, really good studios with teams of people that just work really well together suffer with elevator pitch really bad. But so like everybody has great ideas, you know. I mean that's everybody does. I mean some are better than others, you know, but whatever. Like it's all subjective, right? The difference is like who can actually do something with that and make it a thing. You know, so the idea that you were telling me earlier, I mean, I'm sure somebody else has had that idea, right? It's like the Simpsons did thing from South Park, right? Where everything's already been done before. You know, and we just have to kind of get used to that idea and not worry about it so much. So talk about it. Talk about it, share it, because it's going to make it better, right? You're going to iterate upon that idea, and it's going to be validated, you know. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, it should be like this. And through that conversation or a series of conversations, it's going to grow into something. Maybe you'll look at that and go, actually, I'm going to go and build that. And as you're building it, you'll have more of those conversations. And it'll just exponentially be this huge, like, branching dialogue path. Right?
Like after the point where I'll just get over it, right? Yeah, because she's actually manufacturing doing some work. Hey, I have this idea, what if it's like food trucks where you like fight each other and sell tacos? And like, I'm not gonna do that because I don't have to do that. But someone did it, amazing. You said, oh, it's like this game. I never work out. It's much easier to play games and take them. I want to steal.
I like that. That's good. I think something like that was in my notes too, so I'm gonna include that. It's one of the things, I wanted to pitch, the 7 of these, because I didn't want to just put 10 together and then present it in Ohio. This is, a really good crowd, big crowd. I'm assuming maybe there will be more people, so I didn't want to just come at them like the first time, here's all my 10 stuff. I might have talked to a couple of people about it. But I haven't actually had this kind of discussion before. I don't think it would be as good. So thanks. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it.
If John, you want to kick in?
You can start off screen share.
Yeah.
All right, how do I do screen sharing? There, it's the green button.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Your entire screen.
Uh-huh.
All right, thanks to Mars, who gracefully agreed to go first so that I could review my slides again, although he didn't know that at the time. I actually want to kind of call back to a point that he made, which is about working on projects in your free time. And the project I'm going to share with you tonight is one that I worked on when I first started as a front-end dev in my free time just to learn. I feel like it's kind of helped me grow as a developer as much as my day job has, at the very least. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can build virtual worlds with Ranvier and NodeJS. Ranvier is a framework. You can check it out on GitHub. It's fully open source. Node.js, how many of us have dabbled with JavaScript at all? All right, Node.js is a runtime that lets you use JavaScript on the server side. So the framework I'm going to be telling you about tonight, if you play with JavaScript, you know there's a framework for everything. This is a framework for building a server that will let you play online multiplayer text-based games, often called MUDs, or kind of the broader term is virtual worlds that includes MMOs like WoW and even kind of like online sandbox games like Minecraft. All right, so a little bit about me. I'm Sean Donahue. I am the self-appointed chief bug creator of Ranvier Mud. I am not the original author of it, just one of the contributors. Check me out on GitHub. Shawnahue tweets, which is the same, but with an underscore in front of it, because it's very private stuff on there. Don't have an Instagram. Like I said, I'm a front-end dev by trade. There's a bunch of other stuff up there that you don't really need to know about me, but it's there anyway. So that's me. I want to start off by kind of demoing to you what it is that I'm talking about, because the last time I gave this talk, I didn't actually show anyone what it was I was speaking on. That can be kind of confusing. If you happen to have a laptop with any kind of terminal app, you can actually telnet to mud.ranviermud.com port 4000, which I'm going to go ahead and do anyway, so we can kind of all check it out and see what it's like. All right. So I've got terminal.app. That's not it. Did everyone somewhat read that? I don't know exactly how this is going to show up with the font that large, so it's an experiment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tell that in. This is the game as it would be just out of the box, so it's kind of a demo, and it actually updates with the newest changes, I think every half an hour. So as soon as someone merges a pull request into the project, it'll pretty much be on the server right away. So pretty neat. Here's the start screen, often called the message of the day. Some sweet ASCII art right there. What is your name? So it's Sean, obviously. As you can see, this is kind of like a command prompt menu. pick a very secure password. As an aside, Telnet is not secure at all. So don't use a password that you would use for anything else, because this gets sent in plain text. It's encrypted on the server side, but it doesn't matter if it's Telnet. Okay. Because I'm very creative, I'm going to name my character after myself. The default out-of-the-box game is a little inspired by WoW, rips it off, so it has classes. We go with mage. And now we're in the game world. So you can kind of see, make this smaller, we've got test room 1, and actually a little map up here that shows us that we can go west, east, and down. And we're that little @ sign there. Got a description of the room. This whole out-of-the-box area is just kind of a feature demo / tutorial. We can see there's an item, it's a wooden chest. We have some exits. Oh, we have a quest already, amazing. So this whole server is kind of event-based. I'll go into that a little bit later on. But as soon as you enter this room and event fires, it gives you a quest right away. So we're going to arm ourselves. It tells us some commands. We can open chest, and we open the wooden chest. We can get sword chest to get that, and our quest updates automatically. Get vest chest. We can wear vest, and we can wear the sword, I guess. Cool, we finished the quest, and we got some experience points. What to do from here? Okay, it tells us we can move around by typing any of the exit names in exit. We can look, like I just did, with look, or even L for short. If I want some help on what to do, what else I can do, like I said, it's like any other command line. Just kind of type whatever comes to mind, and it might work. In this case, help tells us some kind of newbie help, like type commands to see the list of commands. As a bonus, in addition to working on this project, helping me learn JavaScript better, playing text-based games when I was younger kind of helped when learning development and the command line, because they're all basically command line prompts. So we see we've got all these commands that are part of the default game right out of the box. It's kind of like any other online role-playing game. You can get equipment, you can kill things, you can buy things to kill more difficult things, you can level up. It has features like being able to join a party, so you can all kill things together. Channels, like I can say hello, or I can chat to the whole game world, hello, stuff like that. All right, and as a bonus, so I just quit, sorry. More stuff on the online. We know how to play it, so how do you use this framework to make your own game? Well, over the past 6 months, we've kind of gone in and exhaustively documented how to do that. So we have a whole set of documentation on the website, ranviermud.com, that has an overview of what it is, how to get started, how to use things like Yeoman. If you've used JavaScript frameworks before, Yeoman is pretty good for kind of building an app without all the boilerplate. How to configure your server, the structure of your project, how to start building your own areas, which we'll get into a little bit later on. And then if you want to actually contribute to the main framework, kind of guides on that. So it has tutorials on pretty much everything. As a bonus, and this is pretty recent, since it's a framework, it has like a standard library, classes, and so on that are used. All of that is also exhaustively documented with JS docs. So if I want to kind of build a new feature that relies on the character class, so maybe like I want to do something that's common in a lot of roguelike games and procedurally generate characters. It'd be good for me to understand what methods I have access to, how to construct a new character. I can go ahead and click on the character class. There's the constructor. I can scroll down, and it's got fields. It's got all the methods and what they do, links to parts of the tutorials that are helpful, links to other classes that are helpful. So it's about as well documented as most JavaScript frameworks out there are. The main thing we're looking for right now is more people to use it, play around with it, build a game with it, and find out where the documentation and the framework can be improved. So that's where you all come into play. So why the heck would you want to make a game with Ranvier over all the other choices? You've got Phaser for front-end HTML5 games, you've got Unity, and so on and so forth. Well, here's why. These are more of the technical reasons. Scalable plugin and object-oriented architecture. So it uses classes that you can extend. It's very flexible. It uses, like I said, plugins. So we'll get into it a little bit more later. But you can actually kind of, like everything that we saw that was output to us was part of the plugin. So if you wanted to make your own game that was nothing like what we just saw, you can just get rid of all the plugins and build your own from scratch using the game engine. It's actively developed and maintained. We've got people merging in pull requests a few times a week, new releases every month or so. There's a very supportive community around it. It works out of the box. So if you want to just kind of throw something up there and play around with it, like what we just saw, you have a working game without doing any coding or really even any configuration besides like an npm install, and then it boots right up. As you just saw some of, well-documented API, tutorials. This is a cool feature that we just added that I haven't played around with much, but API.ai integration. So that's a machine learning cloud-based service. So there's potential, right now it's used for NPC dialogue. So you can kind of have realistic seeming dialogue trees with the non-player characters. Hopefully a little better than what Skyrim does, since it uses machine learning. And potentially that could be used for other things like combat, pathfinding, anything you would need AI for in the game. It's Node 7 and 8 compatible, so it's uses the newest, kind of freshest versions of NodeJS, very performant, and due to that, it has all the snazzy modern JavaScript features that I don't get to use in my day job. We don't even use Babel half of the time. So you can go ahead and natively use like ES6, ES7 stuff if you're a JavaScript developer that might have you drooling a little bit. And as I alluded to before, it's a solid learning tool. You don't really even need to know any JavaScript at all to start building a game world. You just need to be able to put characters down on the screen using a keyboard, or if you don't have any hands, you can do speech and text as long as you can get words down. Okay, future coolness that's coming on the way. There's going to be a graphic building interface. It's in the works, and that way you don't have to manually edit text files at all. A web API, so you can kind of live edit the world without having to turn the server off and back on, and have a server dashboard. More bundles. We recently added a feature where you can kind of publish a bundle the same way you would a node module or any other thing that you can install, so they can kind of be standalone. And as I said, there's a very supportive community. So your idea could very well become a part of a future release. We've had plenty of people join the Slack channel or put up an issue on GitHub with an idea, and they're like, I'm not sure how to implement this, can you help me out? And it made it into the code base, which is awesome. What? No graphics. Oh, geez. So we're in the year 2017, where we have hyper-realistic, uncanny valley 3D, we have virtual reality. Why would I want to play a game that is based entirely in text? So I've got a few reasons here. One is that it's more accessible, which may seem counterintuitive. So the good thing is that there are plenty of clients out there for these kinds of games for folks who are visually impaired, and to use a screen reader to interact with the game world. And since it's all in text, they can still have that very rich narrative experience, interacting with the world and other players, without having to see, and even without being able to read. Same with hearing impaired. Since it's text-based, there's not a lot of sound effects that play into the gameplay. Some games like this do have sound or music, but they usually don't factor in as much as the text does. It's very portable. This server, like many others, uses Telnet. It uses Node, which is a little fancier, but a lot of your Internet of Things devices can probably maybe run Node, or at least can Telnet into things. And so you might be able to run this on your toaster. You can run a server for this with high performance on a Raspberry Pi, or like a $5 a month DigitalOcean box. Very affordable, more affordable than even like a Minecraft server or whatever else. It's relatively easy to develop and maintain, especially compared to, well, I know Unity is pretty developer friendly, Unreal to an extent, but let's face it, being able to program things in JavaScript is a lot better than having to do them in C. And as you'll see, the data formats it uses are commonly used all over the place. Old school MUDs had their own data format that you had to learn specifically for that, and it was really wonky. Finally, it's RAD, which stands for Reading and Listening Are Fun. Anyone can build stuff, like I said, and it is a dope way to learn how to program. So there's that. As a bonus, on the side here, we have the first MUD ever, which was in, I forgot to put the year, but it was like the late 70s. So they've been around forever, so there's a lot to build on there as well. Okay. And in fact, actually, graphics are possible. They just have to be text-based. They have to be based on ASCII characters. And if you've played a roguelike, maybe you've seen games that are like the one you see right here, where it's kind of, oh, it's a top-down game. It's all based on text. There is no reason why you couldn't create your own Ranvier bundle that takes the current look command that spits out that little map in the description, and instead, anytime that you move or look at something, it shows you just a map like this. So it's entirely graphic based. And you can move around and go into menus and stuff like that. All of that is possible. No one's done it so far, so if you're looking to contribute in some way, this could be an interesting challenge. And we even have things like this, a first-person shooter written in the, this is all done with text and ray casting. A little more advanced, but it honestly doesn't require like super fancy calculus or anything like that. There are tons of tutorials out there on how to make a game using ray casting or make a 3D engine using ray casting. Funny story, this game, while not super feature-rich, was programmed using awk, which is mostly used for processing text files. So it was absolutely not made to make games, period, and someone made a first-person shooter using it. So yeah, you could probably use a JavaScript framework that is all text to make any kind of game that you want, even one that has somewhat simplistic graphics. All right. The original Ultima? I haven't played it. Like, you mean similar to Rogue or the first person?
Yeah, pseudo first person, but it was like just a handful.
Yeah. I think a lot of the original first person shooter games were based on ray casting. So you could remake Doom practically in Ranvier if you really wanted to. That's a challenge. Okay, so tech stack really quick. Static definitions, like here are the stats for this monster, are all in YAML. I like to think of YAML as kind of like super JSON, but without requiring you to have brackets all over the place and quotes. It's really flexible, and we'll see it in a minute. The engine, like I said, is NodeJS. So all of the scripting and the core of the source code, all the way down to the Telnet server itself, is all in JavaScript. Persistent data is stored in JSON. And like I said, we now have an AI API that we're using, which is also very flexible. All right, so a little bit into the architecture and how it works. So there's the core, which, if you're looking at it on GitHub, is in the source directory. That's basically the engine of the game. It's what it runs on. And it's the kind of thing where, it's kind of fun to play around with, but it's very unopinionated. Like anything that the user sees is going to be in a bundle, which we'll get to in a second. Most of the features that are game-oriented are in bundles. So in this way, like core is kind of like something like Phaser, where Phaser doesn't force you to make a platformer or a first-person game or a Candy Crush clone. It just gives you the ability to make any of those that you might want. Whereas bundles, which are in the bundles directory, they let you add features. And those features include areas, which are like room descriptions, items. We'll get into those in a second in detail. Behaviors, which are like reusable scripts. So let's say you are trying to add branching dialogue, which you kind of already have. But that would be a behavior, since you're going to want to reuse it on any character that you can talk to, instead of rewriting it for each one or copying and pasting. Commands, those are the commands that the player can use. So you can add your own commands, you can swap out bundles that are just commands. Effects are kind of like duration-based effects on things like characters, items, rooms, and so on. Like maybe you do double damage for 2 minutes, stuff like that. Like think of them as like power-ups. They're also very flexible, so you can use them for other stuff. Help is where help files are stored, which we saw when we typed help. Input events, the menu that we saw at the beginning, where we were logging in, all of that is an input event. So if you want to like change the way that character creation works, that would be an input event. Even the command line root is in itself an input event. So if you want to change how that works, maybe you want to build a roguelike and have it pick up on like WASD or whatever for moving around. You could do that in a bundle in the input events folder. Skills is any kind of special command. So it's basically a command, but it's fancy in that like not everyone has access to it. You learn skills as you level up or whatnot. Player events, kind of like input events, but they are any events that just happen to the player. So when we gained experience points, that would have been defined in the player events file, and it's basically just a JavaScript function that takes the player and adds experience points to it. And then bundles can also contain any arbitrary files that you might want to have in there. Like maybe you have a map of the area that is just defined in plain old text file. You can use JavaScript and import that text file into, say, the map command. So any arbitrary files that the rest of the bundle uses can go in there. The engine won't load those in automatically. You have to do it yourself, but it's good to know you can just put whatever you want in there. Okay, areas. We're going to look at areas a little bit and actually kind of edit one, just briefly. Areas are basically a namespace for any part of the game that contains entities. And a game entity is anything you can actually interact with besides another player. So like items, non-player characters, also called NPCs, rooms. Each area has a manifest that just gives general information about it, and quests. So quests are also scripted in JavaScript, as are scripts that are like very specific to a room. So that first room gave us our starting quest. That was a script rather than a behavior, because behaviors are reusable. Quests are also reusable. They're defined in their own file. We're not going to get into that too much. But yeah, let's go ahead and make some small edits to an area. And maybe we'll make that intro room a little slightly more exciting. So what's like a room or area in real life that we might want to recreate? This room. Okay. So we'll call it, what's the name of this room? I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Grand Circus's layout.
The penthouse.
The penthouse. Oh, very fancy. So this is what YAML looks like. Wow, that's too much. All right, so you can see it's each area has just one file for all of its rooms, so it's an array. And each room starts with this hyphen, and then it's indented. Each room has an ID, which can be a number or a string. It can contain any characters except for colons. That's just kind of a quirk of the engine, because it uses colons internally, as do we all. So the title is what the user sees at the top of the room description. So we want to call this Grand Circus Penthouse. This isn't exactly a featureless white room. So someone, like, just throw out things that you might want to be described to you if someone was describing this room. Open? Okay. An open space with rolly chairs and beautiful people. Okay, that about sums it up, yeah. All right, and then it has NPCs. And NPCs is an array of the non-player characters in this room. So we see it says limbo:1. Limbo, if I can open this thing. No, come back. Okay, anyway, limbo is the name of the area. And so the engine basically takes the name of the area, adds a colon, and then adds the ID. So we know that this is the first NPC in limbo. So we can look at the NPCs file. We see that the first NPC is a rat. Well, I don't want there to be a rat in Grand Circus. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and have our NPC be Mars. Thanks. Mars is pretty experienced, so he's going to be way more than level 2. We'll say level 87. Description. I was waiting for someone to say that. Okay, so we can change the description. The script tells us which JavaScript file in that scripts directory to look at for scripting the non-player character. There we go. So we've got this limbo directory, scripts, NPCs, 1-rat. We can see, it's JavaScript. It's exporting a function, and we're importing things with require. And we've got all these other functions that basically say when this event happens, so when the rat, which is now Mars, spawns, it broadcasts something to this room. A rat scurries into view. So we want to say instead, like, Mars scurries into view and gives solid game dev advice. Okay. So yeah, it's that straightforward. And let's see. Yeah, so we've got scripts for all of those things. Items, again, are an array. There are 2 different ways you can do arrays in YAML. You can do the bracket notation that almost every language uses, or you can use hyphens. So we see we've got an item that's limbo 3, 20% chance of respawning every, I think it's 30 seconds, respawn interval. And this is the wooden chest that we see, and it replaces itself on respawn. So yeah, as you can see, you can configure so much about the game world as it exists without even having to write a single bit of JavaScript. And then when you get into actually scripting these things and bringing them to life, there are a lot of reusable behaviors that you can give these non-player characters, items, and rooms that are also configurable in YAML. So like I said, even if you don't know any JavaScript whatsoever, or if you're just learning, there's a lot you can do with this engine. And there are more and more features being added every week. We can, assuming that I didn't mess anything up, we can go ahead and spin up the server. And this is the server, so it logs out a bunch of stuff. You can also have it log to a file if that seems like a good idea to you. And we can telnet into our server locally to test stuff out by telnetting to localhost. And I'm going to log into one of my testing characters that I have. Okay, we can see that the changes that we made didn't blow stuff up too much. We've got our Grand Circus penthouse, an open space with rolling chairs and beautiful people. We've got our wooden chest. It looks like Mars might have blown up, sorry, or he might have left the room. So let's search around for Mars a little bit. We've got Wally the Wonderful. I want to buy your stuff. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, Mars maybe disappeared. I didn't see any errors on startup, but sorry, Mars. Rip in peace.
It's like a thief in Zork, he shows up when least suspected.
That's probably going to be how it works out. Oh, there he is. He just wandered off. So yeah, non-player characters can wander around. We've got wandering Mars, wandering around giving his game dev advice. Yeah. So got a little bit more for you here after that demo. Got the credits. So I don't want to take all the credit for this. This project was actually started like 5 years ago by Sean Biddle, who's a front-end dev out in Buffalo, New York. And he's the benevolent/bastardly dictator for life, self-appointed. We've got 13 people that have contributed to the code base. Tons more have contributed GitHub issues. We have a Slack community of 48 members, which is up here. There's the website with everything on it, and the Slack invite URL, which is ranviermud.silent.team. If you want to join up and join the contributors list, that would be fantastic. Like I said, this has been 5 years in the making. We kind of grouped together to rewrite the whole thing almost from scratch this past January, and that was super successful and awesome. And yeah, so feel free to join up, check it out. If you're interested in making a game of any kind, why not give Ranvier a shot? Okay. Any questions or anything else that people want to see or know about? Here.
So you mentioned you run on a toaster, Internet of Things. What I want to know is, we get Amazon Alexa as our dungeon master.
that I have to
Do you
play
know
around
any
with Alexa at all.
to do that?
That would be cool. Like I said,
I'm crazy enough. Yeah, I have it.
exactly. It's in JavaScript, so anything you can do in JavaScript, you can pretty much do with this, as long as it doesn't require a front end. And even if you wanted to do that, you would just have to write a WebSocket server instead of front end. Yes.
Thought about using like some sort of like machine learning AI for NPCs. That way you're talking to these kind of weird.
Yeah, so that's kind of what API.ai is. It has a web dashboard, and you go in and kind of, I guess I would say like you define what you want it to do. I think it's largely used for chatbots. So it does give it almost like a human-like responsiveness. Yeah, maybe not full-on machine learning, but pretty close. That would be really cool to do that.
As long as it's not like a really
Right, it would take a lot of training time, but that would be cool. Yes.
So where is the persistent data stored?
So, good question. Let's take a look at the project layout. All right. So we've got, maybe I want to do this on the docs. That might be prettier. Project structure. Okay, we've got bundles. Unsurprisingly, persistent data is stored in the data folder. Right now, the only things that persist are the player's account, the individual player character data, and the message of the day. It would take some minor changes to persist things like non-player characters across server restarts. So yeah, it's just in the data folder. So if you,
the Telnet server?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the part where you might not be able to actually literally run it on a toaster, because it does take up some space. But you can run it on like a $5 server from DigitalOcean.
Could you store assets on the Telnet server? Such as
You store what?
WAV files or things like that you want to use on it?
You could.
Would it be unethical to blatantly issue people files back and forth and then execute those files on?
That's a good question. I don't know how well Telnet does with like taking in streaming audio, stuff like that. Probably not very well.
Yeah.
There's probably a way you could do it if you made a custom client.
Or like another API integration, right?
Yeah, if you had another API call, I could see that. I could see that being possible. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
It's cool to see bugs. And there's a history class that talk about a lot.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
And now it's still, it's really no different. I mean, there are a lot of other ways to experience these. Film with, very fancy visual effects and stuff. Games that are all very visual. But if you sit down, you're repeating this experience and just reading a short paragraph that somebody wrote trying to describe something, there's so much more. Like, even though you wrote that, if I'm reading it, it's kind of mine too, because I'm filling in the blanks as far as how things go.
Yeah, that's true. And then, as a bonus, I don't know if I touched on this, but since like all the entire user interface is a command line, it's a lot more flexible than a game that relies on like a controller or mouse and keyboard with arrow keys, stuff like that. Like anything that you could dream up as a feature and then someone could type out, you could have happen in game.
It's really cool to see stuff like this being built and developed.
Thanks.
We have one more question. It's kind of a new question. So when I input commands into the command line, does your endpoint accept any string and then determine where that goes? So if it matches, it goes like maybe just like a basic like example would be if you want an endpoint that accepts a string, and that string is like just one word that accepts or rejects it, and then how do you handle it? Is like select a switch or something in there that route it?
Kind of. Like I said, it's all event-based. So the command loop is an event that it emits on the player, and they type something in, and then it's interpreted, and then it embeds that command event again to let you use the command. So there's the command parser class, and that basically it's slightly fancier than a switch statement. Like I think it uses regex, so you can use shorthand for commands. Yeah, it'll figure out if it's a valid command or not, and then the command file specifically, like if I type get potato and there's not a potato in the room with me, it'll say that's not here. So yeah, it happens kind of at that core engine level with the command parsing, and then it also happens at the bundle level, since the engine knows how to pull in the commands. And we can look at a command file right quick. And it contains some data about like how to use it, how it's valid and such. So yeah, we've got usage info. So if you misuse it, the engine can tell you like here's how you actually use that command. Then it has the command itself, kind of runs through this function. And it'll say like, oh, if you don't pass any R's in it, it's a drop. If you just type drop, it'll say, drop what?
If we wanted to add commands, is that what it was?
It depends. If you want to add it to kind of like the out-of-the-box game features, it would be a pull request. If you want to make your own bundle of custom commands for your own custom game, like I said, you can do that in like an individual repo, and then you can, let me see, trying to find it. It uses nested package JSONs to pull in outside bundles. So you can have your bundle in one repo, and then like your main the game server in another repo. It just had a bundle that has a package JSON that points to your bundle. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
So you mentioned accessibility. Is there a big disabled community around this?
Actually, yes. Both disabled and international, because it's kind of easier to translate sometimes. But yeah, there's actually a contributor to Ranvier who is blind. And so they've been able to make contributions to the source code and play the game and play MUDs. And it's been accessible to them because it's accessible to screen readers. There are special, specialized MUD clients that are screen reader friendly, so it'll, things like the map that shows up in the look command, it'll see that and it'll know that, I shouldn't read this out loud. So that it's not just like garbled text. Yeah. Thank you.
do have to leave right at 8. I'll have this on mine, so this is all being recorded, and I'll put it up on YouTube and share a link to the meetup and then Slack. So, yeah. So I'm going to talk about making a baby. So if you haven't heard of this program before, it's called Make Human. So if you're working on a 3D game with humanoid models and you want to drop in a bunch of prototypes and don't know how to model like I don't, you can use this little like Second Life character creator to make models. And it gives you that little warning that it's like, this might be graphic. There's nipples. And there they are. So let's put some clothes on this bad boy here. So there's like all these different tabs for putting on stuff. Let's add a little fedora to this guy, sure. Put him in a fancy suit. Yeah, there we go. And also there's sliders for changing gender. So apparently that's a man. And let's go, boop. Baby. So there we go. Yeah. And let's go to old Asian female for the skin color there. Just because that's, yep. So there's all these different skin materials and everything that comes with the game. The program. It's very easy to add new textures and stuff to this, and there's a little community that makes custom ones. So for custom clothes and custom skins and like, yeah, different poses and everything. I'm also going to add this game engine rigging. I'll get back to why I do that. But now we can drop this baby in and get him moving around. So let's export to, I have a Unity project set up. I haven't done anything special to this Unity project other than import some mocap data. I'll explain what that is in a second here. So let's just call it boss baby. So there we go. I put it in my assets folder for my Unity project, and let's switch to Unity. It's going to import that. There's our boss baby, and let's drag him in. And, looks frightening. So off the bat, default import kind of doesn't apply the right shaders. It puts the standard shader on all the materials for the model. So we can fix that really easy too. First off, let's get rid of those dead eyes. And we'll put a diffuse shader on it. And then for the clothes and the fedora, we will put a bump diffuse. There we go, it's starting to look a little bit more normal. Yeah, he's looking cool, but he's just kind of stiff, doing nothing there. So one thing you have to do when you import a model from Make Human, Unity has this great setup for humanoid models that I'll just show you. So generic is whatever the model class has. It tries to import from the file. And humanoid is this awesome thing that I can show you. Yeah, let's save. And it finds out all the important joints and stuff. So when I selected the game rigging, Unity was able to figure out from that rigging all the baby's joints and everything. It just feels weird to say. But yeah, so now we can like any mocap or animations for for any humanoid model, we'll just work on this baby now. So let's try some out here. In the asset store, Unity has a bunch of simple first-person mocap data. With mocap is motion capture. So those, whenever you see those little ping pong balls on people and they're moving around, that's just for like realistic human movement. You could just think of it as like animation recorded, kind of. And so we can apply that to our baby here. So let's expand it over. So right now our baby doesn't have an animator. Let's make one. So if you're not familiar with Unity, there's animator controllers to set up kind of a state machine for our model. So let's call it baby animator. And let's hook it up. And in our raw mocap data, we have a folder full of just all these animations. And these are all FBX files. So if I wanted to apply an animation, let's see if there's any interesting one. Let's just do like, let's just do an idle one. Idle neutral. So let's apply that to be the default state for this baby. So let's go drag our animator window over here. Look at our baby. There's no entry. There's no state yet, so let's drag one in. Let's go idle neutral. So yeah, let's see how that looks. So now when we hit play, yeah, he's just hanging out. Oh, not a care in the world. Yeah, and it just, everything just works. One thing with animations too is he's floating in space right now, but if we had terrain, we'd set on the animation itself, these mocap data animations, we'd set foot IK, which stands for foot inverse kinematics. And that's just a fancy way to say like, it has a way to figure out, adjust the feet position for uneven terrain or just regular flat terrain. And so we won't be able to tell right now because he's just floating. But his feet would be in a more believable position now, as before they were just kind of like locked out. Yeah. So another thing we did was rig up the baby. Let's actually change his neutral thing. So that was a default one, but I pulled this animation off of mixamo.com. It's a thing by Adobe that has a bunch of free animations and model, and they're all human stuff, which is great because I can make the baby do this. Yep, I found a Gangnam style animation, and it's as easy as, yeah, just dragging it into your state machine, and it just works. Another thing we have here is the rigging. So let's say we wanted to put something in the baby's hand. We're going to get real weird with this. We're going to put the baby in the baby's hand. So let's duplicate. Let's make this one a little bit smaller. Tiny baby. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. So our game rigging also created all this, these transforms, which are like the points on the body to play around with. So if you wanted to like put a gun in a player's hand or something, or a baby in a baby's hand. Let's see, I gotta like trace through here. I'm gonna put in his left hand. All right, so I can drag the baby and reset his position.
Oh my God. Oops. Let's shrink him back down again. And there he is, kind of just weirdly attached. Maybe I can rotate him a little bit.
He has baby hands.
His baby hands. Yeah, exactly. This is the a sneak preview of the next week's episode of Twin Peaks right now. So let's, watch that, and now our animation can play. And he's just weirdly in their hand, locked on his wrist right now. Yeah. That looks ridiculous. So if you're working on a 3D game and you don't know how to model like me, and you don't know how to animate like me, and you just don't know where to get started, MakeHuman is a great way to make a bunch of different looking characters and quickly throw in an animation for a prototype you had an idea for. So, any questions? I will post a link in the meetup room, but we can go to mixamo.com, and it's owned by Adobe, and it has a store, but there's a ton of free stuff. So there's animations, there's different characters and stuff, and while these all look crazy, these are all like humanoid rigged. So any of the animations that I showed would work on any of these characters, and any of these animations would work on any of those models. So yeah, and I love this site because it just has this default model attached to this, and you can preview everything. Yeah, there's like GIFs of everything. Jumping away, that looks kind of silly. I would highly advise checking that out. And there's a ton of them. I like just looking through all the weird things. Hip hop dancing, apparently, that's what that is. Any other questions? All right, thanks.